I'd like to give a little bit of an intro to this next motif. A lot of people may not realize this, or have probably never heard of the story of Captain Weirdo's space adventure. Well, the basic story is this. Captain Weirdo is a superhero. In the Earth plane, he's known as Sidney Hipple, that works at a laundromat, wash and fold laundromat. And he discovers he goes into this alternate universe called the 13th Zone. There are other places that he goes to. It's kind of like, if you ever read Carlos Castaneda and The Second Intention, different things, well, it's kind of like this alternate kind of thing like that. But it's kind of real. It's not phony like, well, it's not made up like the Carlos Castaneda. Anyways, Captain Weirdo starts to find out that he spontaneously goes into this alternate universe. And you know, when you have like people have a breakdown or something else, you know, a lot of people believe that it's not really just something chemical. It has something to do with these intermingling, you know, parallel dimensions or universes, which is very much like Earth. Anyways, he starts to go to this place. He goes through the void, which is like this jelly type of thing. And that's how he knows that he's going in there, to this other alternate universe. And if you ever recognize, sometimes you'll see people where you know them and you wave to them and they don't recognize you. Well, you might have partially or just temporarily, you know, morphed into this other zone. People don't realize it, you know, there's a whole thing. You know, of course, now with, I don't know if people have heard about Flugnoidism, you know, about the band of Flugnoids and Flugnoidism, but, you know, something else. Anyways, Captain Weirdo decides that when he goes into this alternate universe, he goes into this other place called the 13th Zone, which is like this real far-off place. And that's the place he goes to anyways, kind of naturally. I guess when you die, you go to a certain place, if anybody believes it, if there is anything. And it might be like, you know, a place where you need to learn about your, you know, your psychic experience or whatever else. Anyways, he goes to the 13th Zone. And he sees how it is on the 13th Zone, and it's very much like Earth, but, you know, a little bit different, because a lot of the people, there were two people. One was Dr. Perverto. And Dr. Perverto, in the 13th Zone, you could have any imagination, any fantasy, anything you want, like a hologram right in front of you. And that was kind of like the hell and heaven of the place anyways. And of course, Dr. Weirdo was, you know, a little offbeat, but he liked, you know, music, he liked hanging out. He was kind of like my buddy, Zane. And a lot of my people I know, and another guy that was there. Anyways, when Captain Weirdo's there and he observes all these things, Dr. Perverto runs half of the 13th Zone. And people are pretty happy and pretty go-lucky because they can do anything they want. And but in this other part was run by Sergeant Smegman. Now, Sergeant Smegman kind of reminds me of Sergeant Slaughter from WWF, military guy. But the thing about Sergeant Smegman is, and the Smegmanites, which is his minions, they control the other part, which is not really a great part. It's like a dump because they shit all over the place, they all smell, and I mean, they don't take care of themselves. It's kind of like, you know, the Dark Ages in that place, where in the other part that Dr. Perverto, you know, controls, it's nice, you know, ecology, they got all those windmills and everything that you would ever want in a decent society. And the people were happy. Of course, Sergeant Smegman always wanted a piece of that cake, if not the whole cake, because his trunk had just gone to shit. People couldn't breathe too good, the air sucked, everybody that lived there complained, nobody had jobs, they all hung around, everybody kissed everybody's ass, especially Sergeant Smegman, and you had different people besides Sergeant Smegman. So what happens is Captain Weirdo sees all this, and he don't want to get involved because he's kind of like the neutral guy, and he can go back into the Earth plane, the physical existence, where the Earth and everything that we imagine, supposedly, is happening, and he can come back, so he don't really care, but a couple times he gets stuck there for like a long time, and the time duration is very, very different than on Earth. Maybe 5 minutes here would be like, 5 years. So if he went over there for 5 years and came back, it might be 5 minutes or 10 minutes that he's been gone from where he is. Anyways, he decides to become buddies with Dr. Furthur. And they have a plan that they're going to come, there's this invention that this person invented on Earth. His name was Bill Berry. Now, he was an artist and an art teacher. But the thing is, he worked for the government. His wife didn't know this. Sometimes he kind of forgets about it. But he invented this Berry resonator that gave this resonance, kind of like from the movie From Beyond and, something like that, or Nikola Tesla thing that zapped people, that made this portal into these different dimensions in different places. Of course, the government wanted to take it over, so Bill Berry was smart enough to kind of sabotage it a little bit because he had this weasel working for him, this assistant that they put in to find out the secret of the Berry resonator. Well, Bill was a lot hipper than that. And he decided that he was going to fake this guy out and give him some false things and not tell him some things, so he'd fuck up the whole thing, which he did. Of course, when the project got fucked up because of this flunky they sent in, fucking Bill got laid off. He had 10 years undercover. He used to tell his wife that he was stopping at the Chinese restaurant to have a couple of pops to take his, to take off the pressure of being a high school art teacher. And it wasn't the students, Bill says. It was those big shots, administrators, and all the androids and the people that were down there. Anyways, Captain Weirdo and Dr. Smegman decide that they're going to use the Berry resonator to open up the portal to bring a bunch of people from the Earth plane directly into the 13th zone where they are. Then they're going to attack with these people, Sergeant Smegma, and drive them out. Now, Sergeant Smegma and his guys are kind of like pretty ruthless. If you think of ISIS and terrorists and all the fucking bullshit going on now and the things going on in the world, that's fucking pretty tame compared to Sergeant Smegma and the Smegmanites and all the minions and all the friggin' things there. But they think they're going to get an army from the Earth and they're going to attack Sergeant Smegma and they're going to drive them, not off the plane, that plane of existence, which isn't an astral plane, but let's just imagine an alternate universe. They can drive them into the void which is the channel between both dimensions, and they can be stuck there. Well, good idea, right? Well, Sergeant Smegma says to himself, who can we get that's going to have the balls to come through and that the earth does not want at all? And he thinks. And Captain Weirdo says, the worst people that people don't like are the people that have, you know, sexual deviance. Oh my God, says Dr. Perverto. That's perfect. So Dr. Perverto and Captain Weirdo come back to the Earth plane and they recruit. They start recruiting perverts, all types of perverts, almost like a cult type of thing, to come to this other place, this new existence that they can go to. You know how these fucking New Age guys can freak you out. You know, these phony fucks. Anyways, the government gets hold of this. They say, hey, this fucking cult is recruiting all these fucking perverts to send them through this portal to this other dimension. Well, the government says, let's let all the fucking perverts out of fucking prison and let them recruit them. And when they go into this alternate universe, we'll find a way they can't come back and we'll get rid of them. Of course, a lot of people that were fucking nitwits, you know, and had no other choice because the earth was getting so fucked up anyways, they're thinking, hey, we might as well go to this fucking place because at least we're going to be all there together, we aren't going to be in jail, and when the devotees or the people that they recruited, and there were thousands and thousands, and they knew by collecting these and getting them ready to go through this portal that they were going to smash Sergeant Smegma and Smegmaville, and it would be over, and they'd have the whole thing. Of course, they'd have probably fucking 90 million fucking lifetimes to fucking clean up the dump. But at least they had to get rid of those fucking people, and they said, hey, all the people come from Earth, when we go back and we conquer Smegmaville, you perverts, you can own the property. Just clean it up, start your own government, do whatever you want. And when they found out that in the 13th zone you could have any hologram imaginable, that they wouldn't have to worry about their fantasies or waiting to get out, you know, any sexual feelings, because it was almost like what they always dreamed of, no matter what you wanted for a fantasy. And you could imagine what the friggin' perverts are thinking. Man, we go to this place, I can have whatever fantasy I wanted, and you know, and of course the government is saying, hey, we fucking get rid of these fucking weirdos. We might have a nice place. And then maybe we can find out how to fucking utilize this fucking machine called the Berry Resonator to go into these troubled parts of the earth and start to sabotage things, because this portal, you could go in and out if you could control it. Anyways, they were still trying to figure out how to get it going again. And Bill Berry, who's also an art teacher, an artist at Western Avenue Studios in Lowell, Massachusetts, a good friend of mine, and a fellow collector of my art and mine of his, was retired then. And now he's retired, so he ain't telling nothing, and they don't even want to say nothing, but they'll never figure it out because Bill's a genius. You know, meet him sometime and you'll find out yourself. Anyways, in the 13th zone, they're getting ready to have this thousands, probably, and now it's not only the United States. They've got portals all over the world. It's like a fucking science fiction movie, because they got portals all over the world ready to fucking transport all these fucking perverts from the Earth to the 13th zone. Well, the next thing you know, they're getting ready to do it. And the government's saying, oh, this is the date it's going to happen. Well, Captain Weirdo and Dr. Baverdo come through the void from the 13th zone to get all the recruits and come over and bring all the devotees through to conquer Smegmaville. And when they come through, for some strange reason, hey Bill, I don't know, you're a fucking genius. But what happened was they came through, and I'm not saying the guy that they had build it or whatever else, the whole fucking system went down. Yeah. And fucking Bill was a little embarrassed and couldn't even tell anybody. Anyways, the whole system went down. So now, the perverts are all out of the jails. So it's kind of like a fucking zombie movie with fucking perverts. Second of all, Captain Weirdo can't go back into the void again because he's lost whatever means to go in himself at will. It might be random. And Dr. Baverdo is now stuck in the Earth Zone. And he gets a job at the laundromat with Sidney Hipple. And we find out later in the story that Dr. Baverdo is really the father of Sidney Hipple. And that's the story of a chapter of the adventures of Captain Weirdo and the Space Rangers. We're taking recruits. We never know what the government's going to do now. We got to get ready. We got to get a team. It's Captain Weirdo's Space Adventure. We need recruits. If you notice the world's going a little bit crazy, just wait. Because you know what's going to happen? Next thing, Sergeant Smegma, I'm sorry, he changed his name, is going to try to come through the void. Meanwhile, like WWF, and like a lot of things, Dr. Pervert, who people assumed was a little bit of a weirdo and a bad guy, becomes a good guy. So, stay tuned and keep a listen for and a watch out for Captain Weirdo and his Space Rangers.